mostrando para todos os players aqui e disseminando que a gente tem um baita de um produto bom na mão, altamente consumido no mundo, pouquíssimo aproveitado. E a ACS está sendo inovadora. Não é trabalho dela criar um business case, por isso que nos contrataram e ainda estão procurando parceiros. Tem algum voluntário? Tudo bem.
Vai lá, Casseb. Desculpa.
Imagina, que é isso? Claro.
Tá bom, vou só fazer com eles que eles estão já aguardando, tá bom?
Tudo bem.
Quer fazer primeiro?
A Patrícia tá aqui, acho melhor fazer primeiro.
Fazer com ela?
Depois com os palestrantes.
Tá bom, obrigada.
Os que têm cartão. Os que estão com cartão eu vou anunciar. Quem passou e não está com cartão, não fez a nominata,
Deixa eu só um aqui, você pode relaxar, eu faço.
Quero ver.
deixa eu só colocar na ordem precisa. Me dá esses já? Ah, então beleza.
Deixa eu olhar aqui então, porque eu vi.
Vamos lá. Esse não é. Cadê o representante do prefeito?
É o Bruno.
Melhor. A dona da empresa, a anfitriã. Bruno, Patrícia, essa é a primeira. Tá?
Bruno já chegou.
Representante do prefeito. Chefe do Poder Executivo, representando. Cadê o juiz do Judiciário, do Poder Judiciário?
Frederico, Fred.
Segundo.
Já chegou?
Autoridade Portuária. Então, deixa eu colocar primeiro na ordem. Os que não tiverem, a gente saca do bloquinho, tá?
Mas isso aqui já tá nova. É só saber quem vai e quem não vai.
Autoridade Portuária. Então, vamos ver isso. Marco.
Mobilização e polícia, sabe? Todo mundo.
Deputado.
Quem conseguiu?
Presidente. 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 Gerente.
Lá embaixo, no salão inicial, tem credencial. Se você quiser passar lá, por gentileza, aí já
Não, se ele está rondando, ele vai estar, né? Tá. Melissa, das duas. Então, sim, por via das duas.
Whey Concierge.
É W-A-Y.
Isso, concierge.
Concierge. Assim, né? Concierge.
Exatamente.
Coloca. Então, sonora com o Renato Casseb, sócio fundador da Whey Concierge. Eu gostaria de saber do que se trata a palestra Cachaça do Brasil para o Mundo.
Foi uma demanda pedida pela ACS para a gente desenvolver um estudo desde a história da cachaça, sua formação, sua concepção, até hoje, até o mercado de hoje e a produção para inserir isso no mercado externo. Foi desenvolvida uma pesquisa onde a gente resgatou todos os históricos, a história da cachaça, por que ela foi inserida no Brasil, como foi inserida no Brasil, até um estudo de marketing e de inserção de mercado, onde a gente vai mostrar na apresentação hoje ativações que a gente desenha como atingiria o maior público-alvo necessário para a inserção desse produto no mercado internacional.
Seria focado na Ásia? Você tinha me falado antes, como é que é? Me conta mais detalhes.
A priori, a gente está pensando em desenvolver esse mercado na Ásia, atingir cidades satélites, cidades de relevância como o Vietnã. A gente está pensando em atacar Hanoi, Xangai na China, inclusive também um pouco no Oriente Médio, Dubai, que tem um mercado muito acessível de expatriados. Também estamos observando a cidade de Singapura, que é uma cidade muito grande, capital do trade internacional. Então o plano se desenvolve em alguma dessas cidades, mas tudo isso é adaptável e customizado mediante ao pedido do cliente.
E aí, conforme a gente falou nos bastidores, agora valendo, na prática, o que será mostrado nessa palestra? Que acho que você falou também da caipirinha, enfim, aí se puder falar dessa vez.
A gente vai explicar que o cartão postal do Brasil é a caipirinha, então a cachaça é a bebida mais consumida no país. Porém, a maneira com que se consome ela é pela caipirinha. A caipirinha é a porta de entrada desse drink. Esse drink já está sendo inserido na Carta Internacional de Drinks, ou seja, todo grande bar no mundo desenvolveu a caipirinha, tem que saber desenvolver, tem que ter no seu cardápio. E isso é um produto muito bom para a gente, porque inserindo isso no mercado, a gente vai trazer um produto melhor e com isso vai ser disseminado esse conhecimento e esse drink, trazendo assim mais mercado. Um dado muito importante que a gente levantou na pesquisa é que somente 1% toda a cachaça produzida no Brasil é exportada. A grande ideia por trás dessa prestação é mudar esse dado, é aumentar essa quantidade.
Da exportação.
Da exportação.
Perfeito, obrigada.
Nada, desculpa. Só isso?
Só isso.
Obrigado.
Obrigada.
Mais alguma coisa? Você não vai falar nada?
Produção, irmão.
Produção. Me faltava essa agora. Ficou bom ou... Ficou bom ou ficou uma bosta? Ah, mas eu já tinha falado 3 vezes, né? Ah, porra. Porra, velho. Eles vão editar direitinho.
Senhoras e senhores,
Ladies and
boa
gentlemen,
tarde a
good
todos.
afternoon and welcome.
Venham, por gentileza, ocupar os seus lugares
Please take
para
your
darmos
seats
início
because we're
ao
going to
evento.
start our
Solicitamos
event.
também
We
que
kindly
mantenham
request
seus
that keep your
telefones
cell
celulares no
phones
modo
off or on
silencioso.
the silent mode.
Obrigado.
Thank you.
Senhoras e senhores, boa
Ladies
tarde.
and gentlemen,
Sejam
good
todos
afternoon.
muito bem-vindos.
Welcome.
Agradecemos também
We would like to thank the audience, everybody who is following this event on the internet, YouTube and social
é
media.
com grande satisfação
It's with great pleasure that we are going to start Brazil Comes Experience Santos 2024, made by LISEX Brazil. On behalf of LISEX Brazil, we would like to thank the following people. Ms. Patricia Carcanholo, CEO and founder LISEX Brazil. Mr. Bruno Orlandi, Secretary of Port Affairs and Jobs in Santos. Representing Mr. Rogério Santos, Mayor of Santos. Mr. Alberto Higino, representing the Councilor Chico Nogueira. Mr. Tiago Testini de Mello, Chairman of Commission of Maritime and Port Law of OAB in São Paulo. Mr. Anderson Lucas, Service Coordinator of COMEX and CX Santos, representing our
Eric
Regional
Santos.
Director, Eric Santos.
Em nome da LISEX Brasil, agradecemos também aos patrocinadores deste evento, Wine Cargo, Cachaça, Famigerada e Whey.
The Bad One and Way.
Agradecemos ainda a apoiadora institucional do evento, a Associação Comercial de Santos. A LISEX Brasil tem a satisfação de realizar o evento Brasil Comex Experience Santos 2024. Trata-se de uma experiência imersiva sobre as oportunidades e desafios do comércio exterior brasileiro. Esse evento tem por objetivo apresentar as novidades sobre a reforma tributária, modernização do Porto de Santos, regimes especiais e muito mais. Assistiremos agora ao vídeo institucional da LISEX Brasil. Agradecemos a sua presença no BCES.
Thank you for your presence at Brazil Comex Experience Santos 2024. This is an immersive experience on the opportunities and challenges of Brazilian foreign trade. Get ready to know what is next in Brazilian foreign business. And now, the guest of the evening, Patricia Carcanholo, LISEX Brazil CEO and founder. Brazil is back.
Anunciamos e agradecemos também a presença do senhor Mauro Sérgio Samarco, presidente da Associação Comercial de Santos. Convidamos para fazer uso da palavra a senhora Patricia Carcanholo, CEO da LISEX Brasil.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. Thank you for coming here today. We have experts to tell a little bit about important topics, not only for Santos, but for all of us who work on COMEX.
Esperamos que todos aproveitem o evento e saiam daqui com uma ideia diferente do que chegaram. Agradecemos também às autoridades aqui presentes, aos participantes do nosso painel, secretário de Assuntos Portuários, Bruno Orlandi, as professoras, especialistas em tributária aduaneiros, Graziela Machado, Tânia, Cristina, a nossa querida professora Ana Dolores, especialista em ZPE, o nosso professor Rodrigo Zanethi, nosso mediador convidado hoje. Sejam todos bem-vindos. Muito obrigada.
Assistiremos agora ao vídeo institucional do projeto Porto Valongo. Convidamos para fazer uso da palavra na tribuna, representando o excelentíssimo senhor prefeito de Santos, o senhor Bruno Orlandi, secretário de Portos e Empregos do município de Santos e vereador licenciado.
Boa tarde a todos, cumprimentar aqui a Patrícia. Obrigado, Patrícia. Trago aqui um abraço do prefeito Rodrigo Zanethi. Muita alegria nessa tarde, recepciona esse evento aqui na nossa cidade, importantíssimo, falando dos desafios e oportunidades para o povo e para o comércio exterior. Cumprimentar também o Leonardo, a doutora Ana, o Rodrigo Zanethi, meu amigo Thiago Mina, que estava em algum lugar aqui, não sei se já saiu, em especial o presidente da Associação Comercial de Santos, meu amigo Mauro Samaro. A satisfação enorme, mais uma vez, essa parceria, esse trabalho feito, fazendo com que a cidade cresça, o comércio, de maneira geral, em todos os seus aspectos, como é peculiar a Associação Comercial de Santos. Eventos como esse fazem com que a nossa cidade cresça, fazem com que o Porto de Santos cresça ainda mais. No último ano, nós tivemos 173 milhões de toneladas de movimentação de carga, nesse que é o maior porto do Hemisfério Sul, o maior equipamento de logística do Hemisfério Sul da América Latina. É importante destacar que não só de cargas a gente fala, mas também de vidas. 35 mil empregos aproximadamente são reflexo direto da movimentação portuária, sejam eles de maneira direta, sejam eles de forma indireta. Não é exagero falar que 1 a cada 5 cientistas dependem diretamente do porto para a sua subsistência. Então, eventos como esse, que trabalham com o crescimento do porto, é um evento significativo para a nossa cidade. O prefeito Rogério Santos teve um outro compromisso, infelizmente não pôde estar aqui, mas deixa todo o seu staff, a prefeitura à disposição para que esse evento possa correr muito bem e colocar, graças a Deus, o nosso Porto de Santos mais uma vez em posição privilegiada. Um bom evento a todos.
Iniciaremos agora a nossa palestra com o tema Cachaça do Brasil para o Mundo, a qual será apresentada pelos palestrantes Renato Casseb e Leopoldo Pereira, os quais convidamos ao palco.
Primeiramente, boa tarde.
Som.
Primeiramente, boa tarde. Queria agradecer a Patricia pela oportunidade de vir aqui falar hoje. Eu e o Leopoldo, a gente fundou a primeira concessionária de serviço no Brasil, é a Way, onde a gente atende qualquer demanda, e a demanda que eles pediram hoje foi para fazer um estudo de análise da cachaça, e o tema hoje da nossa apresentação é do Brasil ao mundo. É muito simples, a gente vai explicar toda a história da cachaça, mostrar números para vocês, e explicar o nosso plano de inserção para o mercado estrangeiro, no mercado exterior. A primeira pergunta que a gente se fez foi por que cachaça? Por que os portugueses decidiram implementar o sistema de cachaça no Brasil? E a resposta foi muito fácil. Primeiro, eles já sabiam fazer isso. Eles faziam isso nas primeiras colônias que eles tiveram em Açores e na Ilha da Madeira. Por conta disso, eles já sabiam que existia uma aceitação no mercado europeu e já sabiam da sua lucratividade. O que resolveu um imenso problema para eles. Eles precisavam popular e ocupar a colônia chamada na época Brasil. Então foi muito simples. Eles trouxeram pessoas para as carteiras digitais, essas pessoas inserem dinheiro e onde você insere dinheiro você protege. Dessa forma, diminuindo o custo da corte real portuguesa. A segunda pergunta que a gente fez foi por quê? Por que a cachaça deu tão certo? Então existia uma herança portuguesa de consumo de destilados fermentados. Bebidas como a bagaceira e até hoje são até hoje consumidas. Então, realmente existe uma herança tanto de hábito quanto patrimonial em relação a isso. Segundo isso, a importação de tudo que existia no Brasil vinha de Portugal transformava isso muito caro e muito demorado. Então, acidentalmente, em um engenho, sem datas, sem exatos registros, no meados de 1515, foi descoberto o vinho de cana-de-açúcar. Foi o primeiro nome dado de cachaça. Com o longo do tempo, o relato dizem que o nome mudou. Tá? Nessa data foi criado o primeiro destilado da América Latina, cachaça. Ela ficou tão popular que ela tem vários nomes. Primeiro, a gente conhece por vários nomes, como pinga, marvada, limpa goela, branquinha, cana-de-açúcar e o meu favorito, água do passarinho não bebe. Para você falar de qualquer bebida, tem que existir uma lei de pureza. Foi delimitado na Alemanha a lei de pureza de cerveja, a diferença entre champanhe e espumante foi criada na região de Champanhe na França, e a cachaça não poderia ser diferente. Mas no Brasil a gente tem um nome um pouco diferente. Instrução normativa. Tá? Foi criado em julho de 2005, onde existem 4 fatores delimitantes para ser chamado de cachaça. Primeiro, tem que ser produzido no Brasil. Não existe cachaça produzida em lugar do mundo. Parece óbvio, mas não é. Tem que ser produzido no Brasil.
Terceiro, o teor alcoólico dela tem que variar entre 38% e 48% de álcool. Quarto e o mais importante, ela tem que ser fermentada e depois destilada. Tá? O quinto fator que está ali pode ser adicionado até 6 gramas de açúcar por litro. Caso adicione mais, pode ser considerado um drink, não cachaça. Tá? E o grande fator de mercado de por que cachaça deu tão certo é aquele drinkzinho no copo ali, como todos vocês já conhecem. É cartão postal do Brasil, Copacabana, futebol, Pelé e caipirinha. Não tem segredo, tá? É com essa artimanha que a gente vai trabalhar logo menos. Ela é a mais famosa apresentação da cachaça, desculpa, eu esqueci de mencionar isso no início. Tá? Ambos, a cachaça e a caipirinha, são patrimônios culturais brasileiros, isso foi registrado em órgãos, tá? É necessário. Tá? Existe uma briga entre o Brasil e o Japão sobre quem é da onde é a mandioca, assim. São algumas coisas bem malucas que a gente vê no mercado internacional. E a origem da caipirinha vem do nome. Muitos não fazem essa assimilação, mas vem de caipira. O drink não nasceu no Rio de Janeiro, o drink nasceu no interior de São Paulo, com limão, cachaça, açúcar e gelo, para refrescar os produtores do campo. Porém, não foi criado popular, ele foi criado na burguesia. Ele se popularizou por ser altamente barato e fácil de fazer. Não tem segredo. Eu imagino que todos nessa sala sabem fazer um drink de caipirinha. Ficando bom ou não, é delimitante a vocês, mas todos sabem fazer. Então, é com esse poder, é com esse produto que a gente vai atacar o mercado externo. Não tem segredo. Tá? E agora eu passo a palavra ao meu sócio Leopoldo, que vai explicar como que a gente vai se inserir no mercado externo.
Olá, boa tarde. Bom, aqui a gente vai colocar alguns números que eu acho que é muito importante para a análise da cachaça ao redor do globo, inclusive do mercado interno e externo. Cachaça é o terceiro destilado mais consumido do mundo. Tá? Ela movimenta cerca de 15 bilhões de reais por ano no nosso país e nós temos uma produção capaz de atingir, fazer uma produção de 1,2 bilhões de litros por ano. Desse 1,2, o Brasil apenas produz 800 milhões de litros. Então existe ainda um grande espaço de crescimento na produção da cachaça. E apenas cerca de 1% da nossa produção é exportada. É muito pouco. Em 2022, nós exportamos para 75 países. Em relação à referência de valor, os maiores destinos foram Estados Unidos, Alemanha, Portugal, França e Itália. Tá? Tivemos uma quebra de recorde dos últimos 12 anos. O valor exportado foi de cerca de 20 milhões de dólares, com 1%. E tivemos um aumento de 52,8% em relação à produção e vendas de 2021. Tá? Produção subiu cerca de 30%. Baseado nesses números, eu e o Casseb, a gente criou algumas potenciais estratégias para a inserção da caipirinha junto com a cachaça internacionalmente. Pode voltar um pouquinho. Isso. A primeira proposta poderia ser de inserção no mercado asiático, seria a inserção da caipirinha no Street Food Market. Street Food Market de Saigon, tá? Saigon é uma cidade de 9 milhões de habitantes, no Vietnã. É um dos mercados de rua mais populares do mundo. E não só apresentar a caipirinha e a cachaça para todos os turistas que viajam para lá anualmente, conhecem esse mercado, como também toda a população vietnamita, que é um mercado que vem crescendo nos últimos anos. Uma abordagem um pouco diferente, um pouco mais elitizada, digamos assim, seria a inserção da cachaça e da caipirinha no Saigon Rooftop Bar. Tá? Esse é um bar icônico, ele representa muito na história do Vietnã. Ele foi de suma importância durante a guerra dos Estados Unidos com o Vietnã, e ele fica em cima de um hotel. Então, trazendo esse caráter um pouco mais de um drink sofisticado, e para que todo mundo que ficasse no hotel e fosse no bar pudesse trazer e popularizar a cachaça e a caipirinha nos seus países quando eles fossem voltar. Outro bar que nós pensamos é a inserção no Bar Rouge, de Xangai. Xangai é uma cidade portuária, cidade mais internacional da China, porta de entrada para o mercado chinês. E um fato que eu acho muito interessante a população chinesa hoje é uma população que mais consome destilados no mundo. Porém, eles não estão acostumados com o consumo de destilados internacionais. O consumo deles se prende ao vinho chinês. Tanto que você tem um problema de escassez de destilados no mercado chinês, asiático. Aqui, colocamos como referência Dubai, uma cidade internacional, um hub fortíssimo no Oriente Médio, o meio do caminho entre o Brasil, né, de certa forma, e o mercado asiático. É um lugar onde você tem cerca de 70% da sua população que vive lá expatriada, então totalmente internacional, e que também, com a mesma ideia do hotel, poderia essas pessoas que conhecessem a cachaça e a caipirinha lá, popularizarem quando elas fossem para os seus devidos países. E, com uma proposta um pouco mais intimista, também o DB Bistrô, em Singapura, dá um caráter um pouco mais sofisticado, digamos assim, para a caipirinha. E Singapura também é uma cidade portuária, um dos portos mais modernos do mundo. E hoje, com certeza, a capital asiática dos escritórios de trading internacional. Outra abordagem muito possível seria, nas Américas e na Europa, apresentar a venda, construir um marketplace de venda da cachaça e da caipirinha por empresas como essas. Então, por exemplo, uma Amazon, um Mercado Livre para a América Latina, um Walmart nos Estados Unidos, que está em todo lugar, um Uber Eats. E da mesma forma que você pode criar um marketplace para você conseguir fazer a venda e a inserção no mercado internacional da cachaça, no mercado asiático você tem também outras empresas que poderiam servir para isso. Alibaba, Taobao, TikTok, que vem crescendo muito nessa parte, e o Grab. Mais importante, eu acho que para vocês lembrarem dessa palestra, é que a cachaça é o destilado campeão de vendas no Brasil. É o terceiro destilado mais vendido no mundo. A gente está falando de um produto que só é produzido no Brasil, que tem um drink clássico atrelado a ela, né? E que nós só temos 1% de exportação desse produto. E que a caipirinha só é feita com cachaça.
Pelo amor de Deus.
Bom, gostaria de agradecer a oportunidade, a LESEX e a atenção de todos vocês. Muito obrigado.
Pessoal, tem alguma dúvida que a gente pode tirar de primeira mão? Depois, se quiser, pode me chamar no privado, não tem problema nenhum. Mas se alguém tiver alguma dúvida, a gente pode tentar tirar aqui agora. Então tá. Obrigado. Eu chamo alguém?
Ivo.
Deixa aqui, claro, caso ele...
Nós temos...
We have one question to our speakers. And the question is, how long do you think it will take to develop cachaça in a market such as Shanghai? Well, Shanghai market is something that we've discussed in local. We've been to China recently, and it was one of the bars that didn't have to look much because they have strong activation. We activated with Pacatins, and that's how we had the idea of this project that we've been developing for 3 or 4 years. Time to ROI on the product, well, depends on the investment. Well, there's no secret there. So if they invest large capital, they can have good ROI. If they invest not that much, okay, so they're going to have small return. But the time for investment could be, as we were in an international trade fair, we know that Shanghai is one of the most international cities in the world. It's basically that. If you have strong capital, depends on how much you can allocate, or it depends on how much capital you invest. Maybe you need to invest more in guerrilla marketing or investment regarding networking or advertising social media. That will depend on the market. It varies because it demands more time, and the time reference is going to vary according to the strategy and who's at the front, what product they're going to put in the market. Well, you mentioned guerrilla marketing. We had the strategy to develop a competition with cachaça so that people would have to reinvent drinks with cachaça, and that would bring people who consume cachaça. So we would ask the invitation, and our proposal to have the return would be like in 3 weeks. So have the market proposition to write that, and the return would be around 6 months, I would say, because we would call in partners, then influencers, we use videos. I would say around 6 months on ROI, according to this campaign that we have for Bar Rouge. But the other bars in other towns, they are completely different campaigns with very different levels of ROIs. Well, thank you both speakers for this nice presentation. Please give them a round of applause.
Realizaremos agora breve intervalo para o coffee e logo em seguida retornaremos para a realização do painel. Queiram, por gentileza, ocuparem os seus lugares para darmos continuidade ao evento. Solicitamos novamente que mantenham seus telefones celulares
I may
no
ask
modo
you that
silencioso.
you keep your mobile phones on silent mode. Thank you.
Daremos início agora ao nosso painel.
We should begin with our panel,
Oportunidades e desafios
Opportunities
para o
and
comércio
Challenges
exterior brasileiro.
for international
Mas
trade
antes de
in
chamar
Brazil.
ao palco nosso moderador e os
I'd like,
painelistas,
before I
apresentaremos vídeo
ask our
do túnel
panelists to
Santos
come
Guarujá.
to the stage, we're going to show you a video about the tunnel Santos Guarujá.
Todo dia é isso aqui, é 1 hora de fila, 1h30, você entendeu? É todo dia, não tem um dia que isso aqui esteja funcionando. Então não tem jeito, eu acho que só o túnel resolveria toda essa situação.
Uma hora e pouca, já cheguei a esperar aqui 2 horas.
Tem muitas pessoas que, inclusive que eu conheço, que não pega a catraia porque tem medo de uma hora afundar, porque já aconteceu vários acidentes.
Na dependência da ligação hoje, pelo sistema que a gente tem, tudo influencia, chuva, o tempo com relação à travessia dos navios.
Porto de Santos, o maior do hemisfério sul, responsável por 30% da balança comercial do Brasil e pela segurança alimentar de boa parte do planeta. São mais de 5.000 navios que entram e saem dessas águas todos os anos em direção a mais de 190 países. Soja, açúcar, milho, café, algodão, suco de laranja, combustível e celulose fazem nosso país bater recordes seguidos de movimentação de cargas. Um canal natural de 800 metros de largura separa as duas margens do porto, uma em Santos, outra em Guarujá. São 2 milhões de pessoas que vivem das cidades da Baixada Santista. Todos os dias, mais de 70.000 pessoas atravessam esse canal entre as duas margens do porto. Por aqui temos a mais movimentada travessia de veículos por balsas do mundo, com picos de até 30.000 carros dia, além dos trabalhadores que cruzam o canal por barcas, rudimentares catraias e outras embarcações. Os congestionamentos castigam diariamente a população, que espera em demoradas filas e pede, há quase um século, a construção de um túnel ligando as duas margens. A situação se agrava com os acidentes entre navios e balsas. O risco para o porto é crescente com a expansão populacional e o aumento da movimentação de pessoas e cargas. Mais de 10.000 caminhões acessam o porto todos os dias, sendo que parte deles tem que dar uma volta rodoviária de 45 quilômetros de uma margem à outra, provocando a emissão de 72.000 toneladas de monóxido de carbono por ano. O Porto de Santos não pode parar. Os danos ao agronegócio, à indústria brasileira, à economia e até o fornecimento de alimentos para o mundo seriam imensuráveis. Construir o primeiro túnel imerso no mar agora é uma necessidade urgente. Para fazer frente a esse desafio, o Ministério dos Portos e Aeroportos acionou a Autoridade Portuária de Santos e foi dada a largada para tirar este sonho de um século do papel. Projetos foram retomados, traçados definidos, autoridades de Santos e Guarujá deram suas contribuições. Toda a comunidade portuária foi envolvida na empreitada destinada a garantir a expansão e o funcionamento do maior porto do Brasil. Famílias que ainda vivem palafitas na margem esquerda do porto ganharão moradias dignas em apartamentos já em construção. O túnel atenderá pedestres, ciclistas, caminhões com cargas não inflamáveis e VLT. Terá 860 metros, incluindo as embocaduras, e receberá a tecnologia mais moderna já aplicada em vários países. Trará segurança, melhor logística e qualidade de vida à população, com benefícios para a economia da região e de todo o país. que interessa aos que vivem perto do mar, no campo e nas grandes metrópoles. O túnel é de todos nós. O túnel é do Brasil.
Com o tema Oportunidades e
With the
desafios
theme
para o comércio
Opportunities
exterior
and
brasileiro,
Challenges for the
convidamos ao palco
Brazilian
para
foreign
liderar o
trade,
painel
we invite
Dr.
to the stage
Rodrigo Zanethi,
Dr.
coordenador
Rodrigo
do curso de
Zanethi,
pós-graduação em Direito Marítimo e Portuário
course
da
coordinator of the
Unisantos,
postgrad
doutor em
in
Direito
Port and
Ambiental
Maritime Law,
Internacional e
Doctor
advogado
of
especializado na
International
área de
Law
comércio
and
exterior.
Environmental
Peço
Law,
gentilmente
specialized in
aos
foreign
professores
trade.
para que
I
possamos
ask
fazer
you
uma foto conjunta.
I ask you to be in the middle of the stage so that we can have a photograph.
Bruno Orlandi, advogado,
Bruno Orlandi, lawyer, Secretary of Port and Job Affairs, Master in Management and Public Policies by FGV. Graziela Machado, partner of LTA Consulting and Advising, postgrad in Law by IBEJ. Ana Dolores,
da terceira sessão do CARF, professora dos cursos de graduação e pós-graduação
in tax law and customs, PhD Masters of Laws in customs law at Erasmus University, Rotterdam, the Netherlands. Patricia Carcanholo, CEO and founder at LISEX Brazil, MBA in Economy with MBA in International Marketing with FGV, and postgrad in Maritime Law and Customs Law at Unisantos.
Solicito a nossa assistente de palco, por favor.
We would like to call our assistant to guide our panelists and our moderator to their places.
Solicitamos aos palestrantes, por gentileza,
We
que
kindly
também
request
componham
our
o palco para a
participants
foto.
to come on stage for the official photo.
Os palestrantes também, por favor.
Our speakers too, if you will, if you please.
A palavra está com o moderador para a condução do painel.
Could you please, our moderator, could you please start the session?
Primeiramente, boa tarde a todos.
First of all, good afternoon.
É prazer estar aqui.
It's a great pleasure to be with you in such a great event that is square one for the discussion of port issues, foreign trade with LISEX in Santos. LISEX is starting their presentation, their operations in Santos, both in operation and commerce. So congratulations to LISEX with Patricia for the event, Leonardo for the organization. Congratulations to all staff, the LISEX team. Congratulations for this event. We would like to thank for the opportunity of being with you today, to congratulate as well to the Worldwide Cargo for the sponsorship, also to the support from the City Hall Commercial Association with Malsa Marco. Congratulations for, embracing this idea in such an important event And you see that we have almost full house today, people who are interested in international trade with Brazil. As a moderator at this event, I have the task of ask you, the panelists, first of all, we would like you to bring your ideas, the facts and arguments that will bring support to the event in the second part of this event. I would like to ask Dr. Bruno Orlandi, a friend from university, at work. Well, let me ask you, what are the expectations in the increase of tourism in Santos with these improvements that are going on? Is the city ready for this improvement? Dear friend Rodrigo, great lawyer, great partner in Santos, let me congratulate you and Patricia and Dr. Ana, Lucaf, Graziela. Well, it's a great pleasure to be with you today. And let me tell that it's very appropriate to talk about export here, the House of Commercial and International Trade. So I salute our president here, our chairman. Well, we have high expectations regarding the increase of tourism in Santos for reasons that bring many advantages for the city. The first fact is cruise tourism is increasing as we speak. We're having the best season of cruise ships in Santos. The season, we're having now one more month with the season, with approximately 1 million passengers coming and going every day in Santos. And that brings around 60% of tourism in Brazil. So can you imagine how important this is for the local area and also the state tourism when we compare the number of people that come to Santos just to go on board? Cruise tourism is growing around the world, and Santos has the main ports. If you think about MSC, or if you analyze Costa Brazil, among others, Santos is where they go on board. And we have the perspective, I would say, for June, July, August, to grow with just by exchanging the place that passengers, the terminal. Because if you know the terminals in Santos, we know that we are working side by side with cargo loading and unloading, and we know that needs are different. And we've been working today with our mayor, Rogério Santos, Paulo Alexandre, congressman in Brasilia, bringing this passenger terminal to another location in front of the tourism secretary. And for those who like football, soccer, in front of the Pelé Museum. So it's a place to focus on the tourists, destined to work with tourists. And we are going to grow even more to receive tourists in an appropriate and embracing way, as you have passenger terminals in Miami, like Fort Lauderdale and many other locations in the world that are destined for that. And on the other hand, if we think about the foreign trade, that enables us to open room for other areas where Concais is today. Cargo that have specific needs for that area. So you can have specific places for certain areas. You have railroad, and you also have security for that kind of cargo that would be loaded and unloaded, different from the passenger terminal. So broadly speaking, Zanetti, we have high expectations. The growth in this city is going through that. We know the tourism industry is growing as we speak, and Santos is more than ready to receive that. We've been working on that for many years, and we want to improve and we want to cooperate with this growth. Just to supplement, Bruno, we see many new sites, many building areas around the city. We have other means of transport, such as the light vehicle on trails, so Parque Valongo that we had here a few minutes ago. We know that the City Hall wants to bring other universities to the city center. So what can we expect with this huge work? What can we expect regarding infrastructure? Well, of course, when we talk about tourism, but other sectors, we need infrastructure, because having the largest passenger terminal in Brazil is a little bit pointless if we don't have the proper structure to receive visitors. And with the improvements that the City Hall is doing today, we have great perspectives. Well, the area in which the Commercial Association is changing, everything has been remodeled, and this was only last month. We have the Coffee Foreign Trade Association right next to us, and the mayor has just launched the Immigrant Museum. Well, actually, the panel to celebrate 150 years of Italian immigration. So these are areas that are being remodeled to receive tourists. We have the light vehicle on trails, the LVT, so that we can have like tourists that can have the transport here. They can go anywhere else in the city. And of course, Parque Valongo, which is the most emblematic symbol of city and port, to have like an investment of 40 million reais to remodel old areas, old abandoned areas for decades. We've had a concession document today that the mayor is doing all the discussions and all, and we are going to do that with zero public money, because this is all PPP. All the money is coming from these partnerships with a social counterpart, and we're going to have other tourist structures such as bar, restaurants, and entertainment, so that the person from Santos can use, but it's something democratic, so everybody can have access, and also the tourists. So this is similar to what we have in Belém, the state of Pará, in Rio de Janeiro, in Buenos Aires, Puerto Madero. So it's an old dream in Santos, but that's going to be shared with all tourists that come to us. Perspective for delivery is for some time in June, July, and August. So these renovations are taking place as we speak. We are doing that. And if you go around the corner, you can see these structures being assembled. And we have the perspective, along with the Santos Guarujá Tunnel, Parque Valongo is a structure that is dreamed of for decades. So we want to deliver and to improve infrastructure to receive tourists, and also to Santista citizens that, without doubt, will want to visit, to bring their parents, to bring their children, and bring their parents and grandparents where they work and where they feel so proud of working, and also to be part of, which is Santos Port. Okay, Bruno. Well, we don't talk about that every day, and it's not every day you can talk to the City Hall secretary. Well, your secretariat is regarding ports and jobs, right? What about jobs? As we have many young people in the audience, we are usually concerned about the need to develop new jobs and to bring new jobs to the city. What can you tell us about that? Well, there are many good things to talk about jobs here. When I took over this challenge dealing with port and jobs, the first meeting I had with the mayor was that. So not dissociating the port from jobs, because 1 in every 5 people from Santos have their jobs connected to the port. That means that 20% of the city works at the port, but I work direct jobs. I could mention indirect jobs. We run these numbers with cross-information with the national database of jobs. If we talk about customs brokers, the number is even higher. If we have other jobs that are like suppliers for the port, the number grows. So the port is the heart in the city. I have no doubt that we grow a lot. There are investments being done right now, like remodeling new terminals, new authorizations, new concessions, so everything that is connected to the port area. These are terminals that are being either built or remodeled, and we have direct jobs, and I would say some thousands of jobs, no question that. And also the construction and increase and improvement of the number of employees. So talk about Eldorado and Suzano. They've made beautiful buildings for the city. They've hired lots of work power for the civil construction, and they generate jobs regarding operations. Furthermore, talking about the tunnel in Guarujá, we are going to have the formal document for concession, so both for Parque Valongo and the tunnel. Thousands of jobs are going to be generated to build, I would say, the oldest dream in Santos. Perspectives for building and renovations in Santos, we're going to start, I would say, this year. And if you allow me, I would mention the cherry on cake, which is the new zone for processing export. So that makes sense to talk about Brazilian export. It's a request from our mayor, Rogério, so that we can establish a zone to process export. We are dealing with the law to deal with the land. We are making the final touches. We're making it more objective. We are studying economical feasibility with a public company with the support of federal government. The forecast, I would say, to vote on this project so that the mayor can approve that. And also we have a forecast to study the economical feasibility for this year. And maybe 2 months from now, we have big news on these 2 points. So we are delivering 2 important points. After that, we want to work with the zone to process export in Santos, especially in the continental area, which is favorable, close to highways, to railroads, with 2 terminals. New terminals are being built in the continental area. And it's an area that we are going to bring companies that have high added value and low environmental impact, bringing new jobs to Baixada Santista region. We can truly say the ports in China, and we have representatives such as Hugo, who knows about the commercial zones in China, that they built 7 of the most important ports in the world to grow, and they're all in China. So we are doing our jobs, yes, but Santos is the major logistic equipment, is the major port in Latin America, and we must have our own ZPE, and bringing these opportunities to generate more jobs, to have more qualified jobs with expressive numbers in the job area. Well, we know that industry is the sector that brings most jobs in Brazil. Exports employs 4 times more people. So we have better qualified jobs. So I have no doubt when I say that we can deliver all requirements, we can show the projects so that we can start operations as for 2025. Very well. Thank you, Secretary Bruno. Perspectives are the best possible. I usually say that this relation, port and city, in a major aspect, it gets better and better. Port and city, they have to walk hand in hand. So congratulations on your job, and thank you for this explanation. And moving on, as moderator, I'm going to call Graziela Machado from LTA, and he's going to talk about tax reform, but focusing on foreign trade.
Podem esperar com a reforma tributária. É para assustar? A tendência é simplificar ou piorar? Quais pontos positivos e negativos da reforma em relação ao comércio exterior, né? Como ficam os regimes tributários, aduaneiros, principalmente os tributários?
Tax regime. Many of the regimes that we commonly use in foreign trade. Could you kindly explain to us what we can expect from it in foreign trade? Good afternoon to everybody. Shall I say or shall I run? Good afternoon to everybody, to the Secretary, Professor Anna, Patricia for the invite, all LSEX staff. We have all these good things going on regarding modernization, jobs coming to the city. Of course, it implies it, but we cannot forget that taxes are closely related to these questions. So we're coming from a very important topic in Brazil. It was the tax reform. So we've been talking about tax reform since 1988 when we had our constitution. So we've been talking about a tax reform. We've been constantly talking about it because how complex our tax is. We have a very well-known book that is called Tax Carnival. So how difficult it is, and all these aspects that are related to it, and how it affects international trade, foreign trade. We've always had a great demand because of all the norms, all tax norms and laws that involve taxes when exporting and importing. We are a big country, and what we have today, we have ICMS, which is a state tax that instead of bringing states together, keeps them separated. We know it's a tax that has a massive impact in companies in general when we're talking about this specific tax. So we well know that every state has its own rules and specifications. We do have a general law that talks about it, but we have lots of particularities regarding, let's say, for example, specific benefits, fiscal benefits that are given by particular states in an attempt to push imports. For example, the state of Paraná, Santa Catarina, Espírito Santo, Rondônia, Pernambuco. Those are states that are linked to fiscal benefits in an attempt to attract companies. And this is an extremely relevant topic to São Paulo, because many companies decided to go to other states because of those benefits, those fiscal benefits. And because of that, many of them left São Paulo. So basically, for that good to enter Brazil, let's say, in those states that offer the fiscal benefits, that's the reason why they moved to those places. So what's the sense in having a tax reform? It's to make it simpler, it's to make it easier for companies. So it's not about paying less, because of course there is a fund, there is an amount of money that has to be made, that has to be. So basically what we want to simplify the way that we contribute, the way that we pay our taxes. So basically we have so many of them: excise tax, service tax, social contribution and billing, some of them of municipal, city level, state level, federal level. So basically now we have new taxes tax on goods and services, taxes on contribution on goods and services. I see this as an advance because we have so many legislations dealing with it. Now we have one instead of 27 as we had before. So basically we have tax on goods and services that will substitute some of them, and the other one is going to be contribution on goods and services. So in this way, those taxes, the taxes that we had before, will be simplified. So now we're going to have a VAT, something that we didn't have before. We see it a lot abroad. And it will be distributed into two new forms of taxes, IBS and CBS. So what's the impact? It's to simplify the legislation from it. So when will it begin? So the transition period will be 2026. So from 2026, we go into 2023. So throughout this period, companies will have to adapt to this new system, to this tax reform. Fiscal benefits are the taxes that have the most impact on import and export companies. So you asked me about benefits from different states. Those benefits will end soon. So they will apply till 2032. So they will come to an end. So practically we have 10 years ahead so that we can work on those benefits. So basically, the reform has been approved, so it won't be changed. All we have to do now is implement the legislation that has been approved. So we have to think long-term, how are we going to structure our operations, considering that from 2026 to 2023, those benefits will come to an end. Perhaps we'll have to rethink where we are. If we're going to carry on being in those states that once offered those fiscal benefits, or we will come back to where we were before. When we talk about import, if you think about it, it won't be only focused on benefits, but the companies could also focus on other things as commercial, especially in import goods. In terms of exports, it's something that we also think about it. Will it keep the benefits, the export benefits? So those were kept. Something very important is that the customs regime, so drawback, temporary admission, those will be kept because they are related to the export of the goods that are going out of the country. So this is a very good alternative once those benefits will come to an end in 2033. So those export zones will become very attractive. I believe Professor Anna will be the best to talk about it. So in Brazil, we have to, in any other country, not only Brazil, but we need to know exactly what the legislation in the country is, so that we won't fall into a trap or something that we believe that is an opportunity, but sometimes it is not, because tax will make it not feasible. I might have the best port and structure, best agent, But if tax it's not measured the way it should be, then part of the operation could be doomed because of it. So it's important to know this reality in Brazil, tax reality in Brazil. I understand that it's going to be a harsh period for us, this transition period, but it will, at the end, simplify our the way that we tax, and it will bring investment from other countries. So one of the complaints of foreign companies is the complexity, the red tape involved in taxes in Brazil. So what should we pay? We have contribution. We have so many different names, tax and duties. So it is highly complex, and I believe tax reform will simplify, but only time will tell what's going to happen. It's been approved, but that is a legislation that will lead us, that will show the way of how we should do it, and we could implement it. So in terms of export, in terms of import, we have till 2032, and export, it remains the same. So I have to stop here. If no one takes the microphone from me, I will carry on. I have two questions, three actually, simple ones as a moderator. Professor Graziela, what's the idea behind the reform? It's to keep exports and perhaps, so country that wants to export, it has to make it easier, right? In terms of those customs special regimes, we have Secretary Bruno here and other representatives that are here. Our chairman. We have all been fighting together with our congressman, Paulo Alexandre. So there's a massive fight so that it could become law. Do you think those special customs regime, for example, outer post, do you think there's still a question mark for those areas? Will it depend on supplementary laws? How do you foresee those situations? I believe that you don't have a specific answer, but how do you perceive it? May I add something to the question? So what about port and other forms of port? So it will come with supplementary laws in any other regime. So we knew from the beginning that export would have other ways of analyzing it. We don't have a specific definition that didn't come with the constitutional amendment. So basically, we have in the customs regulations temporary admissions. So we're going to find those in the customs regulations. Other issues are related to import. Of course, supplementary laws will bring the answer. So, of course, we are getting ready to what's coming. So when we have special customs regime in the amendment, it wasn't mentioned how it was going to work exactly. So basically, a supplementary law will bring an answer to it, if those are going to be kept or not. So that goes beyond fiscal benefits. So basically, we have to wait and see what's going to happen. And of course, we're here looking forward to an answer, and we're going to do our best in relation to this reform. So we don't want the reform to interfere, but to simplify, to be something predictable. Today, what we have today, it's an unpredictable scenery. So we're going to have a general rate. We're thinking about 25, 27%. Some people are saying 24%. That rate, it's going to be one of the biggest ones, VAT, in the world. Now we're waiting those legislations to actually say what's going to happen. That's why we have to pay close attention to it, because Sanity is working with it. They currently have 19 groups just to tackle tax reform. And our group, foreign trade group. And before we end, this concept of single rate that comes with the tax reform, together with destiny to where it goes. So basically, it will be taxed where the good is going to be consumed. So how do you think it's going to impact in the state of São Paulo? Either origin or destination, I never believed that São Paulo will ever be affected, because I'm from Paraná, but I was born here. I'm from Cajati, not far from here. At the same time that São Paulo is a manufacturer, we also have the greatest consumer market. So I don't believe that it's going to harm the way things are done, same way other countries do. Although São Paulo, during the tax reform, asked for this transition, so basically this is going to take 50 years, if you think about it, this transition, to take it from the state, the manufacturing state, to the state that actually consumes the good. What I think is interesting is that the benefits is that many companies decide to go to other states and don't come to São Paulo because of those fiscal benefits. I believe those companies will probably come back to where they wanted to go before. So those states that offer the fiscal benefit, it is an imposition that the good enter the country through their ports. I'll stop here. It's a very complex theme. It's a novel topic. We're still going to talk about it a lot. I'm at your disposal.
I would like to call Professor Ana Dolores Samalta, professor consultant in customs affairs. She's one of the experts on the topics that she's going to mention, which is about the EPZ, Export Processing Zone. And I would like to mention that we have Mr. Hugo, who is a manager of a future EPZ in China. And he's giving us great pleasure with his presence here today. Well, Anna, first of all, good afternoon. So what is an EPZ? How would you qualify something as an EPZ? And how can an EPZ, what can an EPZ in Brazil so that organizations can reach a different level on the global supply chain? Okay, how can an EPZ increase the Brazil participation in export regarding economical, financial aspects? And if you can also tell us a little bit about the Chinese model and how the EPZ is going to work, and how is the EPZ featured in the law today. So if you can tell us about this important model that for fiscal effects is considered as a primary zone in Brazil. And I think, even taking the opportunity of Bruno, as he mentioned, Santos municipality is working tirelessly to have a new EPZ here in Santos. We know that other neighboring cities are doing the same. We have around 12 or 13 EPZs about to be implemented. We have one in the state of Mato Grosso do Sul, in a city called Cáceres. We have an EPZ in the state of Piauí. They are almost full operational. So can you please tell us about the EPZs? Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Professor Zanethi. Do you mind if I stand? I think better if I stand. Well, good afternoon, Bruno, Patricia. Congratulations for organizing this event and the Commercial Association, Graziela. My God, you made so many questions. I would think I would need like 3 hours to answer them all. And as I am a chatterbox, I'll try to put in a nutshell in 15 minutes. Well, we have that saying that nothing is created, everything is transformed. And that's how the EPZs happened in Brazil. My heart is filled with joy every time I talk about that. And even more, well, we know that Bruno is being bombarded with questions, but now I'm paying a compliment. Well, this initiative of the municipality in order to try to have an EPZ in Santos is very, I would say, thinking about the future. We literally exported or imported a Chinese model to Brazil. Unlike many people say about the EPZ, it's not a special custom regime. It's a model of free commerce in which the country, through an executive order, would allow each area to be considered a typical area in Brazil. And what is in the country? And what is that? An area that has many customs benefits, customs, and in currency. In China, around 40 years ago, they've started to invest, they call the ZAE, Special Economical Zones. We brought this model to Brazil, and we call them EPZs. So it was through these SEE that China changed from a poor country, transformed to a country that has great potential for development. Only the Shenzhen SAA has a larger GDP than Brazil. And what is that? Is there a paradise? Yes, that is heaven. It's not easy to participate in this paradise, I would say. There is a protocol, but let me explain. So the EPZs, they joined the law system in Brazil in the late 80s. That was because, well, we are used to say like import, because Brazil has always been a country with a very protectionist behavior. We've always needed to import lots of things in order to finish the products that we produce. But still, we export raw material, but we don't consume the finished product. And that even happens in Santos, that we export fuel, but we don't refine our fuel enough. So that's why Brazil is not self-sufficient in many products. And the final product is very high. We produce basic products for cosmetics, pharmacy, car industry, technology, services, software, but we don't make the final product. And these EPZs is the main opportunity to have the final product at low cost and differentiated paperwork. I like talking to people that know about customs and laws because they know what I'm talking about. So imagine you are in an area in which you don't need to pay import taxes, industrialize in taxes, PIS, COFINS, and within that systems, you have the drawback, the customs traffic, you have ATA, you have your own home customs, and have everything for you. Your products are going to come through a closed port. Everything is going to be led, and so you don't have to wait in line to have all the brokers to do all the work like in a week. So it's going to take like within hours. So your product would be within the port or airport or in the dry port, as we're going to have in Cáceres in Mato Grosso. As they are in national territory, you have customs house with the DTA. The product is going to be transferred to the EPZ in which you are installed. Because when you are in your EPZ, better say, you have all these benefits that is just mentioned. Well, that means I don't need to pay import, fiscal fees, VAT, and the transport rate for the marine? No need to, because the EPZs are here to make this stimulation for the economical development, so to make the country more industrialized. So if you're an industry and if you want to install yourself in an EPZ, you can. You create a new industrial plan. It's not a simple transference. The product can be the same, yes, but the industrial plan must be different. They submit to their own EPZs. They submit the project to the EPZs that are going to submit to the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. And once approved, showing that it's economically feasible, it is feasible to be bought in international markets. So you must have a culture regarding export, and you can use your EPZ, and you have all these benefits. Oh, that's cool, Anna. So we have the rules since the 1980s. So why don't I hear about that? Simple. Industrial competition. For many years, we've had this industrial protection, so our ports started to open to the world in the beginning of the 1990s, when we had the increase of the port development. Santos was the same, happened the same. And in time, our legislation was improved. We had an approval in 2007 and another one in 2021. Legislations today allow us that even companies that provide services, and if they follow that industrial plan, they can have their own EPZ having the same benefits as the industry. Okay, you may ask, fine, okay, but everything I produced, I made, does it have to go export? It did until before this executive order in 2021. From now on, it's possible to produce within the EPZ, and part of your products go to export, another part goes to the internal market. Whatever is consumed in the internal market, okay, they're not going to have the tax waiver that I've just mentioned. However, the benefits are still on, because if the companies that supply you and they provide services, they're going to have their benefits. Your custom area is still yours, and all fiscal benefits for other products are still on. Logistics between the customs, transport, everything, the outer post, they're all included. And we know that our difficulties in Brazil is not only regarding a tax, it's only bureaucratic. I was talking to some friends before our talk that our outer post is really old, and legislation is from the dictatorship time in which the public administration was led by many bureaucratic and centralizing laws. So we have penalties even if you enter without permission. If you pay later, the fine. If your VAT is wrong, a penalty. So you pay penalties for everything. So now you can have your EPZ with all automatic benefits. So even if you have everything that is not for the external market, for export, you're going to have these logistic benefits. Different from what happens with the drawback. If you have the drawback, but if you're not in your EPZ, everything you need as extra, you have to request. And more. If you miss the organization of your inventory, I mean, with whatever you buy as raw material to process your product and you resell, you are going to lose the tax waiver. That doesn't happen with export and export. And there are two other points. All licenses and concessions, environmental or to operate, they were also added to the regime. Once you have the approval of your industrial plan, you have all the custom waivers, all the tax waivers, and these licenses, concessions. Everything that the company makes within an EPZ, all revenue, can be kept in currency reserves in other countries. So meaning whatever comes to your company can be kept dollar, euro, or any other currency. You don't need to convert to Brazilian real, which, whether you like it or not, it's a kind of diversification for the company and armoring your assets, so to speak. So that's the main differential. Today, we have some EPZs that have been implemented and 3 that are working. So Pereira, that works with Rotterdam Port for 10 years, it's one of the largest EPZs in the country. And only this one has made the Ceará state GPD to improve in 3%. We have a second one in the city of Parnaíba, in the state of Piauí, that are work with companies exporting to Russia, to the US, to China. We are going to have the release of EPZ Cáceres in Mato Grosso do Sul, that is going to be focused for the Latin American countries. And we have many others that have been officialized in Pernambuco, Maranhão, that are not fully operational yet. So it seems to me that Santos, being the largest port in Brazil, I never know if it's the first or the second when compared to Panama, is lacking behind with an investment that other states are making. And this is a differential in this competition because it can generate jobs, it can industrialize that area, and to have more benefits regarding logistics. So Mercosul has made partnerships with Singapore. So we have all the facilities within Mercosul between Brazil and Singapore to sell grains, food, meats. So we are about to close partnerships to commercial trades with European Union that touches agribusiness. Maybe this is going to take longer due to the Russia-Ukraine war. And this has been affecting the price of grains. And our policies are along with the Asian tigers, let's say that. So it seems to me that this is the right moment to invest on that. We had the release of a discussion desk in the Congress to discuss that in the National Congress. We have 213 congressmen ahead of this process to modernize, to remodel the legislation, and to include the possibility that service-providing companies can have an EPZ without being connected to any industrial plan. That happens in China. That's why that everything in life, you never create, to transform things, but you transform, you change it for a model that it's appropriate to us, but we can envision new possibilities. I saw with the committee, I saw all these proposals. Startups are showing new alternatives, and our costs can be more competitive within an EPZ. Now, just comparing now to Santos, and Bruno is here. So imagine a region that exports grains, coffee, sugar, meats, fuel, with a structure that is close to a port, the busiest port, and that exports products to China. Who created this model and consume, I would say, in a stronger way. So China has our data regarding exports. So imagine the number of industries that want to come to Brazil. Initially, legislation would say that in order to install in an EPZ, they would need a greenfield mechanism. So to have like immersion and fusion with another company. So on practical terms, if your plan is relatively new, you can implement. So MIDIC is avoiding us to go through a fiscal war, to create like a benefit in an area, and we are going to avoid migration of companies. So X company is going to be kept in the same place, but they're going to open a new structure, a new branch within the EPZ that may complement the job they are doing. In Parnaíba, for instance, some employees, some entrepreneurs, they keep their plant in Piauí to export, and industrial plant in Ceará out of the EPZs. So they have different benefits in different areas. So I think I've said enough. I think I went over time. No, that's okay. I'm over time. Yes. So we are within time. But anyway, I'll give you this food for thought so that you can, along with the state, with the municipality, you can bring proposals, you can attract investment on that area. And if we can bring our country out of this protectionist perspective with an industrial freedom that has been affected and custom policies that are punitive rather than stimulating. So it's important to remember that the EPZ has been protected with the tax reform, but they have many benefits attached. The regime for export areas, just like Manaus area, have been kept. So we're not running the risk of losing that, or in 2023, that's when the deadline we have for tax reform. So I think it's the time to take this opportunity. Thank you.
Ana?
Exauri suas perguntas?
Não. Ana, eu tenho uma pergunta seguinte.
Anna, I have a question. In the state of Espírito Santo, we have the EPZ Aracruz, which is a private EPZ. What's the difference between these private and public EPZs? Up to 2021, before the tax reform that I mentioned, only public EPZs were allowed. So let's say that the city had, they mixed that the administration with the state. So only after 2021, with this natural movement that we have in China, they've approved the possibility of administration being 100% private. So let's say that you are an entrepreneur, you have potential to export, but you don't want to invest in the industry. But you want to own the industry, you want to own the EPZ, and you want to manage that EPZ. Is that possible? Well, this whole protocol for approval to have like the executive order, the vice president, who is also the Minister of Industry and Commerce, once approved, goes under the scrutiny of the president, and you have a concession to manage that EPZ that would say like 25 years. So you see, it's a long term. Nobody wants an industry to install, stay 5 years and leave. 25 years is enough time to bring stability, to attract important investment for that region and to generate jobs that it's going to stay for a long time. So it is possible today that EPZs can be private with no administration whatsoever of the public sector. You just have to prove that there is enough capital to manage and to attract industry. Initially, as a way to foster the installation, so they can have the structure and they make everything so that the industry can come. And then later on, they can ask for a lease in order to manage, because EPZs need money and they make money through this mechanism. However, in order to attract investments, if I own an EPZ, I have to prove that I have enough capital to manage that EPZ. So if the EPZ is private, they have to show that all partners, or one single partner, that they have enough capital to generate possibilities for business in that area. It's Yara Cruz in Espírito Santo, right? Just to close, Anna, I'm not going to ask for your opinion because opinion is complicated, but anyway, you can see that EPZs are changing into a specific zone, that these changes in legislation, that the process for export, it's like you said, they come, process, and export. Isn't legislation coming closer to the Chinese model? Well, I have to give my opinion. No, we are way behind the Chinese model. Because in China, I don't even need to be an industry to have an EPZ. I can be an assembly line, I can be a law office, I can be anything. I don't need to be industry. I just need to develop, to create economical development. If I have like an assembly line, a small one, I can do it. That happens already. There are EPZs in China that Brazilians are working because they're potential buyers from the Chinese, and instead of buying the final product, they open an EPZ. You must be a foreign investor, cannot be Chinese, so they buy the material, they assemble the final product, and they send it to Brazil because the company is in the same economical conglomerate. And even in pricing, they can do that to make the tax cheaper. Our model is very different from the Chinese model. I was talking to Hugo some days ago that he manages an EPZ in China, and I told him about a book. And let me suggest, the name is Mayonomics, from Loretta Napoleonics, who's a French economist, and she explained how the Chinese capitalism model worked within the communist structure that they use in the political area. Because for sure, with no question, that China is capitalist country, especially in the social area. They apply communist concepts in the social area. But the economical area, they are capitalists. And how this economical liberalism has attracted foreign companies. We are very far from the Chinese model, but what we have today is enough to have a new industrial revolution, maybe 6.0. We are in the 5.0. 6.0, industrial revolution. And we are coming out of that zone that the entrepreneur needs help from the government to do everything. And we are not playing the role of like the professional complainer anymore. We are playing the role that we can solve things. And we have economical advantages for the entrepreneur, but they don't know about them. And we even admit our guilt, because universities have taught students just to litigate, to fight in court. I follow a different theory. I think that today we have to be business people, because from the moment that we know about the legislation and we start bringing opportunities, and to make opportunities for the business people can learn about that, and we bring benefits. we only need to stimulate the entrepreneurs and show them the way to grow. But it's not only a matter like of showing the loops in the law. You have to stimulate growth in these companies and to apply existing norms, because customs world is literally a sea and an infinite horizon of opportunities. Well, thank you, Anna. I'm very happy because I just raised the topic and you gave us a class about that. I'm happy, but I'm sad because, well, like a journalist, when they find an answer to a question, they get happy. But my journalist part is not dead. I think I'm going to college again because I went to journalism school for 2 weeks along with law, but I couldn't make it. But Anna, thank you very much. Before calling Patricia Carcanholo, CEO at LISEX, to close, I think we can pass for Q&A. Any questions? Do we have any questions from the audience? In our listeners on YouTube or Instagram? The speaker corrects himself. We have 6 questions coming from the audience. I'm going to choose who's going to answer, okay? We have questions for even for the previous presentations. Well, Bruno, okay, let's see. What projects regarding modernization in Santos, which ones are going to be the first to be delivered, basically? Can I answer? Sure. Who asked the question? Oh, we don't have. Only Juliana Berto. Well, we don't have the name. Okay, no problem. We can answer anyway. The first phase of Parque Valongo, this is going to be delivered mid-year, I would say June, July. Parque Valongo is the most important icon of culture. So pier, structure for restaurants and warehouses and places for research. And we are working with the public ministry so that we can have offices and we can have places for research. But some others have been delivered. So the remodeling in the city center. So 15 de Novembro Street has been delivered. We have the panel of 150 years of Italian immigration. The LVT's estate work. The first phase was delivered years ago. Now the second phase we're having now. We have others. So changing the passenger terminal that is going to be announced in June, July, August. And we have 3 years to deliver. Santos Guarujá Tunnel, we're going to have the official paper this year. And delivery is going to be 2029. That's a federal government project. So we have many actions going on, and they're all going to impact on the port. And of course, we're talking about infrastructure, but there are many others connected to the private sector. So terminals, new docking piers. We have in the area of Alemoa for fuel, liquid terminals so that everybody can follow, and some other interferences with the private sector, but in the public area. Some social counterparts, so like areas for pedestrian crossing. Some others are going to be delivered in the beginning of this year. Some others are going to be finished, but now we're talking about passages and access to terminal. We have flyovers for pedestrians, and there are other projects in a sense. So it's a flyover done by Eldorado, and it's going to benefit this whole export hall from Ponta da Praia for our grains. And we have the differences in levels due to the trains that are coming, the roads, and pedestrians that are going to work. So there are several actions, such as these ones, that are being made. And also the internal railroad in the port of Santos, that our FIPIS, who does the whole part of railroad, they have a series of deliveries with a huge chronogram. They have delivered some of them. Some others are going to be done in due time with a chronogram approved by the government and so on and so forth. Some of them have been delivered. Some others, we're going to have them delivered in this term, and then in time, it's important to mention, that goes through like different governments and with all the legal aspects. And of course, we're going to have that delivered in due time. And as like the lawyers can mention here, we have 4 lawyers at the table.
Mas ela namora pouquinho com o direito, né, Patrícia? E a pergunta agora vai para a Patrícia, né? Patrícia.
And the next question goes to Patricia. So before we close this session, if anyone else feels ready to answer this as well, what is the role of that person dedicated to, that specialist dedicated to tax reform, EPZ, all that's going on in Santos, in the biggest part of Latin America, everything that it's still going to happen? What's the role of that specialist? What is expected from the foreign trade specialist with all that's been presented? It is an interesting question. The reason to bring all these specialists here, this is a very good thing. I believe it was a very enriching thing that we shared today. So basically, the specialist has to be updated so that we can advise better our clients. So this is our role. This is what we can do best, is to advise our clients so that we can help them, so we can show them where opportunities are. We frequently analyze the market so that we can warn our clients. For example, weeks ago, we warned some of our clients that regarding Asian freights, so they increased enormously. So the freights to North America, Europe. So what does that mean? Opportunities. Because in Asia, we have Brazil's competitors. So the freight being more expensive means that we have Brazilian exports could see it as an opportunity. So we can export more because it will be more advantage so that they can buy it from us rather than my rival. So I have to we show them how to look into that. Can I add to it? I'd say more. I believe the foreign trade specialist should be multidisciplinary, because we've got to understand geopolitics. Otherwise, we cannot advise properly our clients. Why freights are so expensive? Because there's so many things going on because of wars, because of all the conflicts in the Arab world, and sometimes ships, vessels, they cannot cross the Suez Canal. They have to go around Africa. So if you cannot advise if you don't understand what's going on, if you don't understand fiscal benefits, special regimes, tax reform, so it's important that you are updated the whole time. And because customs legislation is extra-official and its aim is to move the economy, so mainly what we've got are norms and instructions, I believe that we should be the sort of professional that it's everywhere.
Agora, concordo com o que foi falado, né? E essa questão mesmo de estudar, né?
Yeah, I do agree with what you say. I believe that study is the key. It's the future of every area. It's important to take part in events, to specialize yourselves. I'd also like to ask Patricia, she holds a degree in economics. What about the future of Brazilian foreign trade? How do you foresee foreign trade, Brazilian foreign trade? With many opportunities, EPZ are not very well known, but I believe it is one of the solutions that we have. So we have to pay attention to those and grab those opportunities. Of course, there are other solutions that are equally good. For example, my favorite solution, it's vendor management inventory. It's an inventory managed by the vendor, which is the international seller. Implies in trading post, but it's also an inventory that belongs to the international seller. With the inventory, the supplier doesn't need the money, working capital. It's only when the time of delivery that inventory belongs to the importer, and it goes through legislation. I think this is a very good solution, although it's a not very well-known solution, known in Brazil.
Bom, antes de encerrar definitivamente,
before we close for good, is there anyone else, anyone in the audience would like to make any questions? My question is directed to Ana. What is needed to develop more EPZ? Will private sector influence over it? Why we don't have one in the state of São Paulo? What's your name? Renato? Well, it's willpower. That's all we need. From private and public sectors. We could have both, public administration and private administration. So all they have to do is search for it. There are specific areas previously approved for it. So basically, it's willpower from everywhere, from everyone, from entrepreneurs, from Congress. I believe is that many people don't know about it. So that's why I said before, I'm very happy with this sort of event that we're having today, because it's a chance of talking about it. I know a couple of people that work with it, and we do deal with a very specific public that already know about it because they've experienced it, they've seen it before in China. So basically, we have to literate people in terms of how it works, and this is part of our job. Although once entrepreneurs get to know how to do it, they have to search for ways of doing it. So of course, it's a lot easier than dealing with public money. For those that have the capital to invest in it, all they need is willpower to do it. Thank you very much for the question. Is there anything else that you've asked? No, that's all. Thank you.
Mais alguém, pessoal? Alguma
Anyone
pergunta?
else?
Oi, Walter.
Hello, Walter.
Good afternoon to everybody.
I'd like to congratulate all for all the explanation given here this afternoon, especially to Anna regarding tax reform. So when you're talking about, in Santos here we have many transport companies, and people will have to change their code and how will it work? Will it change in terms of EPZ? Thank you very much for your question. Transport companies will benefit a lot because they will offer an accessory work, because those that will benefit from EPZ will have to so when you're part of your goods, this is not something needed for the market, but of course it makes the difference. When you are part of that special area, but if it's together with somebody else, of course you have your tax reduced. The end value, it is an aggregated value. Every value that is aggregated to a product will make it more expensive or cheaper. So of course, if you pay less taxes, my final price will be more competitive, will be cheaper as a reflect. Você já vai ter esse serviço agregado. No mercado interno, sim. Continua sendo diferencial porque você vai continuar operando it keeps being something special. Receita vem prezando por compliance. Então, se você apresenta DTA, so customs revenue, it's constantly asking for compliance. É muito parecido com a ideia do remessa conforme da Receita Federal. É diferencial. Então, it is something differential. EPZ, it is a competitive differential. In terms of BR of the sea, it's not related to export in itself. It's related to operationalization. That goes beyond what I understand, but I believe there are some issues into it, because So I believe that is a privilege. It was given privilege to other companies and those companies that are not Brazilians. I believe that the biggest ship owners are not Brazilians, and because they are not Brazilians, so I'm not here to judge them, because they do benefit from what our government offers to them. So it keeps the country less competitive because it's hard to bargain freights. It opened our waters to a greatest exploit from our waters. So this is my point of view, and I understand that other people don't share the same point of view. I talked to many people that are part of this area, and those ship owners believe that it was easier for them. Because if they are part of a joint venture, and if I'm an entrepreneur, a Brazilian entrepreneur, and I don't want to begin a joint venture with a foreign investor. So BR do Mar doesn't exactly affect EPZ. How are you going to send, what's the model that, maritime model, you could use air instead of sea, especially because of this crisis in the Red Sea, and it is cheaper. Of course, there are products that won't get to the destination through air, and still we have to use sea. Related to freight, remember that the import that we do, freight is negotiated with companies. So it's not part of internal issues within the government.
Well, we're moving towards the end. I'm going to pass the microphone to LISEX Brazil CEO, Patricia Carcanholo, to close this event. Patricia, I would like to thank the opportunity to be here. This is such a rich event as a mediator, and you have the floor now. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for coming here today. I would also like to, I would like to pay more compliments to Santos, just to make a quick observation that nobody has made so far. And I'm sure that you all agree with me. Every week in Santos, the number of ships is higher than other ports, being the south of Brazil and the northeast. And what does it mean for us, importers and exporters? That we have access to the best options for freight. If you have loadings in the south to Argentina, well, it's not necessarily the cheapest rates. They can be cheaper than Santos, given the number of ships that leave Santos. And the northeast is the same. You have a shorter transit time to the northern hemisphere. However, the best freight rates are in Santos. I mean, no excuse from the northeast or from the south, no excuse, but this is it. So I think it's another advantage to Santos, São Paulo, facing all these changes that affect all of us to end fiscal benefits and all that. We must be aware of these differences so that we can keep working. Well, thank you once again for coming. Thank you, Zanethi. Thank you, Bruno, Grazi, Anna. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.
Nós convidamos.
We would like to invite you at we're going to show you another video. So we kindly request our participants to take your seats, and we're going to show you a quick video to close our event.
Assistiremos agora ao vídeo de encerramento e agradecimento da LESEX.
We're going to watch our last video to close our event. Enjoy.
This was an immersive experience on the opportunities and challenges of Brazilian foreign trade, a meeting that brought together the best of Brazilian foreign trade with leading experts in Brazilian foreign business in Santos, the largest port in the South Hemisphere. See you in 2025. Brazil is waiting for you.
A LESEX Brasil agradece mais uma vez a todos pela presença.
LESEX Brazil thanks you all for coming to have the prestige of your presence, and we hope to see you again in our next event. We would like to invite you for cachaça tasting that is going to be served on the ground floor. Thank you for coming and see you in 2025. Thank you.